Welcome to a rather frosty morning coffee time. Guest starring an owl, apparently. Cheapo Walmart stove is working. Only complaint so far is the pot stabilizers aren't really worth a damn. Really got to watch it when I'm cooking my beans. So you might think after, through hiking for 4 years, basically full time, and after having been a winter backpacking instructor for, 10 plus years, that I would be smart enough to set up where the sun was going to hit my tent in the morning, but you would be incorrect. When I got here last night, my only thought was I needed to not be visible from the road because I had images of a whole bunch of people showing up early in the morning to hike and running by my tent. So I am kind of hidden in the shadows here. But things are starting to warm up. I'm just letting the frost melt off of my rainfly. It did get rather cold last night. One of the water bottles that was pushed up against the side, that thing did freeze. It's generally warm enough under the rainfly inside the tent that stuff is okay. My main water bottles did not freeze because they weren't pushed up against the side. But there was freezing dew, so everything that was exposed has like a layer of ice. This is also the start of these sections where there are shortcuts. I could take either a 25-mile road walk with a little bit of trail, or I could go across the lava fields on the red line and do like 40 miles. I am sticking to the red line because I want to see the actual trail. But it is a little bit of a struggle just because I am very aware of how late I am out here and that winter could hit hard and kind of wreck my plans. In general, though, I figure, in another month and a half max, I will be comfortable, I will be warm, etc. And at that point, I will be, looking back on this trip for years. So I would rather deal with a little more discomfort, deal with a little more effort, and do the trip the way I really wanted to do it versus, always have that in the back of my mind. Yeah, I feel like I wimped out. I started road walking, shortcutting. As of right now, I am just over 500 miles to the border via the red line. So I am hopeful that I can do that in about a month. I would very much like to be wrapping this up in November, but realistically, my feet aren't holding up that well. I'm just not that good of a thru hiker, You have no idea how much I want to just sit here and keep drinking hot coffee and whatnot. I can endure cold weather while backpacking. I tend not to thrive in it. I know people, I have done plenty of mornings where I was climbing peaks, snow climbs, things like that, where I was up pre-dawn, shaking frost out of things and getting moving in the snow. But that's one thing if it's a short thing and then I am back in like comfortable civilization. I've adjusted things quite a bit to kind of keep myself mentally going out here, over the months, over the years. I do keep my toilet paper wipes, my filter, and my batteries and my phone inside the sleeping bag with me so I don't have to worry about those freezing. I am more concerned about this morning, the sea knock, because I ended up with some ice inside of it, and if that pops, that's going to drop my capacity quite a bit. I may have to add another bottle or two. I've been toying with the idea of just like grabbing a gallon jug and carrying it in my hand for some of these. These are fairly durable, but yeah, ice is just kind of sharp, so I'm waiting for it to thaw out. I'm not going to put anything through the filter until a little later today. I am still wearing my long johns most days. Out here it's tights. It is partially for temperature and partially just for sun protection. I used to wear hiking pants, but I sweat in them so much and I just find they didn't dry out near as well once I started the PCT, so I tend to like more like skin tight things. Insert your joke here. I did actually find a pair of men's running tights that worked for me. I got some Janji ones, I think that's how you pronounce it, after somebody recommended them to me in the Colorado section. And they worked. However, I wore them for a couple of those warm-up hikes when I was at my parents' when I was recovering from the helicopter injury. And the last one, when I came back, it was really cold. It was snowing as I was coming back, and I had what seemed like an allergic reaction. I was pretty sure it had nothing to do with the tights since I'd worn them before, but I didn't want to take any chances, so I left them in Colorado. It was weird. My legs turned basically bright red from my knees up to my stomach, and I was just itching like crazy. Not the sort of thing you want to happen out here, because if all of a sudden I'm not wearing pants and I'm like running around screaming and like itching myself, That's the sort of thing that usually gets the local law enforcement involved. Today is about 14-15 miles of going on the lava flow trail, which I'm really looking forward to. Then I have a water source, and then I have a 26-mile water carry. With a stop in the middle because I got to overnight. So that's going to be fun. See, I tucked in behind the tree, and what I should have done is been out in the open somewhere. Oh well. So I decided to dump my CNOC water. It was just a liter rather than risk packing it up while it still had ice floating around in it. I have been hearing a couple of cars. I guess it makes sense. I'm used to people showing up early at the trailheads because they're going to hike something big. This is just a tourist walk, I think. It is funny how quickly I lose context out here when I'm moving around in the dark. I have a headlamp with a decent beam so I can see a fair ways off, but you just miss out on so much. And when I'm wandering around looking for a decent camp, I have a tendency to end up closer to the trail or the trailhead or other things than I would normally do. So onwards, I've had 3 cups of coffee. I've got 2 liters of slightly icy water and 14 miles till my one water source. And then after that, it's going to be a 26-mile haul. I do worry that some of the wells may be turned off or that some of the troughs may freeze on me here, but oh well. One day at a time, one worry at a time. Generally, there's always a road I could get to, within a couple of hours if things were really, really wrong. And anytime I'm in a situation like this where the water sources are not 100% reliable, I always make sure and have at least a little water left when I get there, just in case. I've run into people before that never want to have water when they get to the next water source, and that can be problematic in the desert. So I'm not a huge fan of things like last night where I'm road walking in the dark. Just figure I'm less visible to the vehicles. However, it is way colder in the morning. So, given the option, I will always do later mornings, later nights, as nice as it can be to, get moving early and see the sunrise. So this section is crossing the Malpais National Monument. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. If you look at this area on Google Maps, you can see the black lava rock in this section, and then there's a bunch of little volcanoes on the far side. I have done some caving, and areas like this tend to have a lot of lava tubes that you can crawl into. We did a really cool one down in Baja. There's a volcanic peak down there, and along the way I know where there are a few tubes, so I've led Sierra Club groups down there a couple of times. The nice thing about volcanic rock is it is super grippy and generally not too crumbly. The downside is it is super grippy, so it can shred your hands, shred your shoes, shred your feet, and you can see it's just not going to be as fast to going. Man, some of these cracks are kind of deep. Wonder how often they lose a tourist. I spent about 5 years of my consulting career commuting out to Boise, Idaho. So I did a lot of road trips and things based out of there. And one of the cooler places I visited was Craters of the Moon National Monument. They have a bunch of kind of maintained lava tubes, and then they have wild ones. Wild ones just being holes like that maybe go, maybe don't. First time I went into a wild tube. I ended up connecting with one of the prepared ones, so I'm flat on my stomach, blowing all the air out of my chest and just inching along, and all of a sudden I see 2 little feet and a little head sticks down, and I hear, "Mommy, there's a man down there." The other cool thing they have out in that area is an ice cave. Basically, because the wind goes over the volcanic rock and the volcanic rock will breathe, it made it colder down below through sciencey things. And so they have a tour. Apparently, it had been like that, and it was an attraction, and then somebody messed it up. I think they blew up the back of it. And so ice didn't form anymore. they were all bummed. And then somebody had the big brain idea of, well, somebody blowed it up once and that stopped the ice. Maybe if I blowed it up again, which they did, and it actually fixed the issue. So you can take this tour that takes you on this lit walkway down into this lava tube. And they have ice on the bottom, and they have pictures of people like ice skating along. You have to have a tour guide to go in there, because otherwise people trash stuff. And that has the distinction of being one of the least enthusiastic tour guides I think I've ever seen. It was some lady that was sleeping until a minute before we left, and you could tell she would just kind of like take a big breath and go and run out. You could tell it was so rote and she just had no joy, which always makes me sad. I always feel like that should be a fun job. You could tell stories, things like that. Granted, depending where you are, sometimes you're restricted. When we went to Biosphere 2, there are actually a bunch of really cool stories around that, but the official tour, they don't want you to go into any of the drama about when the dome was breached, the former people living in there breaking in to help the ladder, all the drama from the people stuck inside, which is a shame because that's the interesting part. Not like the soil erosion studies. I mean, those are interesting, but human drama. If you haven't seen our Lone Star hiking trail, we actually did the Biosphere 2 tour on the way out to that one. I had done it years ago, but I find it really cool, this whole like self-contained ecosystem attempts. Now, that was a horribly done one because they had a rich person who gave money to a bunch of hippies who thought, oh, let's include monkeys because humans and monkeys need to like live in peace. And the monkeys like grabbed onto electrical stuff and electrocuted themselves. And they didn't take into account things like the cement off-gassing. Still, I'm more highly entertained by rich people using money for stuff like that versus just economic company sort of things. Blame growing up reading 80s sci-fi where it was always some rich billionaire who was leading the space race because the governments wouldn't. Based on the footprints, looks like those people I was listening to this morning only went out as far as the first lava flow. It was tricky for a little bit and then went back to sand. Thought this was a dead end for a minute. Then I saw the ducks and steak up there. Back to the fun stuff. I'm pretty sure this is the equivalent for sore feet of taking your kids to some industrial place where little child labor people are losing their hands and whatnot in order to make them behave. Route finding has been interesting. And as an added bonus, not only is the way hard to find, not only are these rocks kind of sharp, so you got to watch out for your gear, but there are cactuses growing up in some of the rocks. So there's always that joyous opportunity to kick a cactus. And now if you need me, I'll just be singing along to Hard Way Home while making my way across this. So if it looks like there's no trail out here, I'm pretty much having to follow the cairns. Because unlike other types of rock, this rock doesn't really show a footpath. The biggest, coolest lava tube caves I've been in are things like this, where you've got a little bit of a collapsed section, and then you get back into unbroken tunnel. Again, I'm not really geared for crawling around on lava rock, so that'll have to wait for another time, but such a cool area. The lava tubes are basically because when the lava is flowing, it will cool on the outside, so when the lava stops, you end up with an underground tunnel, and then parts of them will collapse, leaving caves. I was kind of hoping this was going to be flooded with tourists, considering Veterans Day weekend and all. Haven't seen any other hikers since trauma. So day hikers and town people are the only folks I get to talk to. Yet another cool spot on the CDT that I don't even think was on my radar. This is kind of trippy with all the trees. I was expecting more barren landscape. Craters of the Moon was apparently named that because one of the astronauts came back from the moon, went there, and said that was what it reminded him of. There you go. So tempted to crawl down there. Unfortunately, in addition to my shoes being kind of delicate, this Jolly Gear shirt, the sleeves will shred if you even look at it funny. If I get it anywhere near volcanic rock, it is done. So this is the junction where the Bonita Alt comes back in. I'm happy I did the red line though. That was one of the more unique sections of this entire trail. I've got another 8 miles or so to the water source at the ranger station. That's probably about where I'm going to end up camping unless things speed up massively, which I doubt in a lava field. I once led a trip out to Bears Ears where I actually had the group rappel down into one of these and we had to ascend the rope to get out of it. That's a lava tube. Wow. Unfortunately, this has been kind of slow, annoying going. Not as cool terrain as that first part, and hard to tell where to go, plus lots of unstable footing. There are ducks, but there's one. It's takes a lot of paying attention. See, this is why they have started to turn against caches. This was dropped by the Lava Flow Hostel in Grants. And just like the other 4 or so I found, it's just trash at this point that's just sitting out here. So I'm not the absolute only person out here. He was just doing a section. He said he did the brown line last year, which is the water or the road walk that this goes by. So he came back out to do the red line. Apparently the big water carry ahead, the water source that is right at the end, he said it looked kind of questionable from a distance. So he carried extra, and there was a water cache a little ways past that. But the water cache only has 1.5 gallons. And I can easily, put away 1 gallon if I've been dry all day and I need to carry for a while. So, yeah, we'll see. Not quite sure what was going on with the trail through there. All of a sudden the ducks and the emblems were gone. And it was just cross country. This is part of an old loop trail. Finally got to take advantage of some water somebody had left. Could have still made it to the ranger station, but it was nice to have. This section's gone significantly slower than I expected, thanks to it just basically being cross country with grass and lava rocks. Okay, a couple of more miles to this ranger station. That'll be my water source for the night, and I'll stay somewhere in that vicinity, I think. I'm just hoping I get there before it gets too dark at this rate. 4:30 per that sign back there. 2 more miles to the info center. So I should make it right around dark. I'm just hoping I can find someplace back off from the road to spend the night, since there's still an awful lot of volcanic rock around. Okay, supposedly there is a water spigot around here somewhere. And I'm gonna crawl off into the bushes for the night. Okay, this is perfect. There's a faucet, which theoretically is drinkable water, and I'm just charging my phone. And then I just got to find a place to camp around here. I'll come back here in the morning, drink as much as I can, and then that'll give me a head start into that 26-mile section. It's too late to do the road walk. Okay, got my water for the night. Just gonna retreat far enough back away from the road that the traffic's not too loud, and I hopefully won't be noticed by anybody back at that emergency response center. Okay, went back over the hill, found a spot, quiet enough. Home sweet home. It is cold, so I want to get in the tent. Slightly better. Today was a far rougher day. I only made it about 15 miles. It was just that middle section, even the early bit where I was going over all the lava rocks. That slowed me down a little bit, but not that bad. But yeah, the middle part where there was no trail and it was just cross country in the grass with the lava rock. that took a lot out. And I'm really tired of tripping on a lava rock, because it like grips the bottom of your sole, and just about tripping. And I can't even use the hiking poles because it'll wedge into the lava rocks, and I've broken tips before, and I'm trying very hard not to do that. But I made it. I've got water. I am going to make a nice warm dinner, and then in the morning I will go charge everything at that building, just, in case. And then drink some more water, fill pretty much everything up, because it's going to be a 26-mile carry. And it looks like the first 10 miles is going to be on the highway you can hear on the background, and then on a dirt road. After that, though, it's just a bunch of little flag cairn symbols, so we'll see how it goes.